to hear it anyway. You know, I can tweak my steno to whatever makes sense to me. Define it, it'll come up beautifully. So 2021, this computer is up.
Okay. Boy, it is slow. Look, I'm just walking across the screen right now. That's kind of freaky. I'm standing here and I look up and I see myself walking across the screen.
Oh my gosh.
We have a ghost.
Do it.
So we have a ghost.
Well, we might. You want me to tell you? You can just.
Here's your phone.
I thought you had thrown
I
that
did
at
too. Pop me in.
All right. All right. Okay, Miss Bartay, is there one you want to go with first? You're still muted.
Okay, now we've got it.
Okay.
Whatever Charlie wants to do. We have our new regional attorney here with us, Judge Mr. Charles Van Orden.
Hello. What's the picture on the wall behind you?
Oh, actually, it's one my father did. I was his president when I graduated from law. It's called the Card Players, because that's kind of how he saw lawyers in general. So that's when it was a present from my dad, one of his paintings.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I've always had it in my offices. So
I think Mr. Longoria is a big poker player. So.
And we have Stephanie Holmes. She is going to be here for Miss Sarah Wagner on both the Hills Homes and the Holmes case.
Okay. So then, Mr. Van Orden, either one of these cases you want to begin with?
Sure, Your Honor. I was ready to proceed on the kind of the order they had on the docket, starting with the Holmes case, if that's all right with the court.
Sure. So do we have everybody? Yeah, see Mr. Garvey, Mr. Longoria. Need anybody else in Holmes?
And Judge, I am present for Sarah Wagner, kind of on an emergency basis. She is still in trial in Waller County on a final CPS trial, and they asked for me to fill in. I feel comfortable doing so on this case, and
Okay.
I will address the next one.
All right. So anybody else we need on Holmes? Okay, so I guess Mr. Van Orden, were you going to call any witnesses?
Yeah, so I was going to call the caseworker, Your Honor, Miss Lee.
Anybody else?
That's I don't know. Is the mother is present?
I see Miss White.
I'm here.
Okay. I was going to call the mother as well, Your Honor.
This is the wrong Holmes case. Rhonda Holmes is on the Holmes Hill case, not on the Holmes Charles
okay.
III.
Right. The
Okay.
mother on that case is Peaches Campbell.
Okay.
And I don't see her.
Okay. Well, I would just be calling the caseworker then, Your Honor.
Okay. So Miss Holmes will get to you on the next case.
If you could ask this question, like, what are the cause numbers? Because
Yeah, we
we
haven't.
got two.
Yeah, we haven't got started yet, so I'll read it.
I got two files.
Yeah, I got 2 files.
I think there might be 2 cases.
Okay.
Judge, before we start on Rhonda Holmes' case, I'm going to need to go to the break room with her.
Okay. So can we do the Charles Holmes first?
Yes, I can do that one.
So let's do that one. So, and then Mr. Garvey, you can have any witnesses in Charles Holmes?
I don't see Miss Campbell. She may end up testifying.
All right, we'll see if she shows up. And Mr. Longoria?
I don't see Mr. Charles Holmes. I did text him this morning, so no, not at this time. Judge.
Okay, and Miss Wagner, I'm sorry, Miss Gonzalez, did you have any witnesses?
I do not, Your Honor.
Okay, all right.
Judge, I don't see Casa on. Is anybody in the waiting room?
I don't see anybody in the waiting room. Are they all in the waiting room?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe there are. Hold on. Okay, there's Miss Campbell.
Okay, Judge Myron Evans, he's going to be the caseworker for the Hills Holmes case. And then I see Miss Campbell's on now.
Yeah, I see her. How about, do we have
Annie
Charles
Scott,
Holmes? Charles Holmes's father, is he here?
No, Judge.
who's on the telephone? 936 number.
Sherry Whiteley with CASA, advocate.
Okay, which case are you on?
Holmes.
The Charles Ray Holmes?
Charles, yes.
Okay, so then we have the caseworker, Ms. Campbell, and CASA. Anybody want to call anybody else? Okay. All right, so then this is cause number 2019 L7444 in the interest of Charles Ray Holmes III. We have everyone announce who's here. Guess we should go through Mr. Van Orden.
All right, Your Honor.
Okay, just go ahead and announce.
All right, the state is ready, Your Honor. Department's ready.
Okay, and Mr. Garvey.
Attorney Calvin Garvey, and I represent Peaches Campbell, the mother in this case, and Miss Campbell is also present.
Okay,
Introduce yourself, Miss Campbell.
Peaches Campbell, mother of Charles Holmes III.
Mr. Longoria.
Stephen Longoria, we're ready to proceed, Judge. I do not see Mr. Charles Holmes online. I did text him this morning, and I have not heard back from him.
Okay, and Ms. Gonzalez.
Stephanie M. Gonzalez, I am standing in place of Sarah Wagner, who's the attorney ad litem for the child.
All right, and then see Miss Lee.
Yes, Deborah Lee, CPS caseworker.
And CASA.
Tracy Halcasa, supervisor.
All right. Anybody see anybody else who's involved in this case? So if I can get, see Miss Lee and Miss Campbell to raise your right hands. You and each of you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
All right, Mr. Van Ort, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would call Miss Lee as a witness.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Miss Lee, would you state your name for the court, please?
Deborah Lee.
And you are the caseworker for the Department of Family and Protective Services that's currently assigned to the child Charles Ray Holmes III, is that correct?
Yes.
And this case, as I understand it, is currently set for a final hearing on February the 23rd next month. Is that also correct?
Yes.
And have you set out in the permanency report, which has been filed with the court, the efforts the department has made in an attempt to reunify the family with the child Charles?
Yes.
And let's start with the mother. Has the mother been compliant with her service plan?
The mother is attending service. However, she has not completed any of the services and she continues to test positive.
All right. When was her last positive test?
Her last positive test I sent for a random UA on 119 and she reported on 122.
All right. And what was the test positive for?
That one was actually presumed positive because she didn't show up on the day that we requested her to report. The last actual positive test that I have is a hair follicle on October the 19th. I have requested another one on January the 19th. The results are pending.
All right. So she took a hair follicle test on January the 19th?
Well, yes, she took one. I do not have the results.
Okay. Thank you.
She took a nail follicle test that same day.
Okay. So of the service plan that was put into effect at the status hearing, she has not completed any of those services?
No, sir, she has not.
And has she given you any reason or explanation why she's not completed those services?
No.
And as to the father of the child, is he compliant with his service plan?
He has completed his parenting classes and I do have a certificate of completion. All the other services he either hasn't reported for, he's still attending, and he continues to test positive.
All right. And when was his last positive test?
January the 5th, his nail bed test was positive.
For what substance?
Cocaine.
And in that particular regard, do you know where he might be today? Have you talked with him recently?
I have not, and I have no idea where he is today.
And what is the department's, with the final hearing coming up next month, what is the department's permanency plan at this point?
Unrelated adoption.
All right. And you have sent to me basically 4 final hearings, previous final hearings involving the mother and others of her children. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how many children has she had that her rights have been terminated to already?
3.
And again, has she given you any reason that she has not been compliant with the court's orders that were entered during the status hearing?
No.
All right. Is the child's current placement an appropriate placement?
Yes, it is.
And you believe that placement to be at this time in the child's best interest. Is that correct?
Yes, and they have expressed a desire to adopt the child, and they are licensed to adopt.
And do you believe the department has made all the reasonable efforts it can to try to reunify this family up to this point?
Yes.
And are you asking the court to continue the placement and continue its orders pending the final hearing in this matter on February the 23rd?
Yes.
Was the mother also recently directed to take a nail test?
Yes, she was. And my records indicate that she did so on the 22nd of January, but the results are still pending.
Okay, so she's taking both a hair follicle and a nail test. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and within this last month. All right, I would pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay, and before we go to Mr. Garvey, I see that Mr. Holmes is now in the meeting. So Mr. Garvey, do you have any questions for Ms. Lee?
Yes, Judge, before I start my questioning, I want to set the record straight. We have requested a jury trial in this matter. And so we did timely file a request for a jury trial. So I don't know how accurate it is going to be for that final hearing or trial next month.
Okay. If the jury fee has been paid, then we will not have the final trial next month, and we're gonna have to wait and see when we're able to have a jury.
Okay. Ms. Lee, is it accurate to say that she has passed several urinalysis tests, Ms. Campbell?
She has passed the urine test, but on the same day, she failed the hair test.
Okay, so on the same day that she tested positive by hair, she also took a urinalysis test that showed she didn't have this in her system.
In some instances, that is correct.
Do you find that odd at all? I'm
No,
sorry,
sir.
that's not a proper question from you. For you, I'll rephrase that. So how long have you actually been on her case?
Right at a year.
Okay, but prior to that, there was another caseworker, correct?
She was in what we call family-based services, and there was another caseworker. Yes, sir.
Okay, and her service plan has actually changed several times, correct?
Not since it's been in this stage.
Okay, she was at one time previously taking parenting classes, correct?
I do not have a certificate of completion. I did receive a letter from someone that said they were a parenting coach at one point in time. But
Okay.
as of today, I still do not have a certificate of completion.
Okay, and are you aware that she was taken out of that parenting class that she was doing previously?
No, sir. Ms. Campbell has not made me aware of that.
You're certain about that? That
The
you're
best of my knowledge at this point in time, until I receive a certificate of completion, she's not in compliance.
okay, but she was previously in a class, and assuming that she had done everything she was supposed to, if she was in a parenting program back then, she would have been completed by now ordinarily.
I can't answer that. It depends on what they recommend she does, how often she attends, but when they feel that she has completed the goal of the curriculum, they issue a certificate of completion.
Okay, so she's been going to parenting classes, correct?
Sir, they do not report directly to me on that, and I do not have a certificate of completion.
Okay, but you're aware that she has been going.
I am aware that she went at one point in time, yes, sir.
You're aware also that she's going to counseling.
Yes, sir.
And as part of that counseling, she does homework, correct?
That is between her and her therapist, sir.
Okay. So you don't talk to the therapist at all?
I talk to the therapist. I receive monthly reports from the therapist.
Okay. Did you have occasion to visit her apartment?
I had an occasion to visit her residence. Yes, sir.
Okay. And did the residence appear to be appropriate?
Yes, sir.
Is she doing her visitation with the child?
We have a new visitation schedule in this case, which is now supervised by CPS at a CPS office. We've had 3 visits since that plan has been in place, and Ms. Campbell has attended 2 of the 3.
Okay. And you're aware at one point she had problems with her transportation, correct?
Yes, sir.
Pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Longoria.
I don't have any questions of this witness, Judge.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes. You mentioned that there was a change in the visitation to supervised in CPS office. Can you explain why that change occurred?
Yes, ma'am. The current caregivers, the placement could not deal with the parents' drama coming and going whenever they chose to, saying they'd be there at 1 o'clock, not showing up till 3 o'clock. It just made the whole household too chaotic. So the current placement, Ms. Gertman, requested that CPS start supervising the visits and have them at the CPS office. Since that time, the household is a lot calmer.
And when you say the household, does that include the children's behavior after
Yes.
the visits?
Yes.
And do you believe it's in the children's best interest to continue visitation in the CPS office?
Yes, I do.
I'll pass the witness.
All right, any other questions for Ms. Lee?
Yes, Judge, if I might question. Ms. Lee, did Ms. Gertman ever specifically say she had a problem with Ms. Campbell visiting her?
She had a problem with Ms. Campbell visiting with the child due to her inconsistencies of when she was going to visit, demanding a visit that particular day without pre-scheduling and not staying to a schedule. Yes, sir.
You sure you're not confusing the 2 parties?
Yes, sir. I am positive I'm not confusing the 2 parties.
Okay.
Anything else from Ms.
Now,
Lee?
you mentioned that when you were questioned that she had 3 other kids that were taken from her, correct?
I believe I was asked how many cases ended in termination. And the
Okay,
answer to
so
that
that would
was
be 3. And are you aware that she continues to provide for those children?
No, sir, I am not aware of the circumstances other than the final disposition was termination.
Okay. So you're not aware that she still sends money to those children?
No, sir.
Okay. And that she has visitation with them?
Sir, I have no knowledge of those children other than what I can read in a document filed with the court, which is the final deposition on that case.
Okay. Pass the witness, Judge.
All right, any other questions for Ms. Lee?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, that brought up a question I need to ask.
All right.
Ms. Lee, you just heard it inferred that the mother is sending support and monies to help children to whom her rights have been terminated. How much child support has she paid during the course of this case for Charles Ray Holmes?
To the best of my knowledge, none.
Has she provided gifts for the child?
She did bring Christmas gifts, yes.
All right. All right. I don't have any other questions of this witness, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Van Orden, who would be your next witness?
I would call the mother, Your Honor. And I believe she has been sworn.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, ma'am, if you'd state your name for the court and the record, please.
He needs to unmute.
Yeah, she's still muted. I sent her a message. Okay. Now she
Peaches
should be.
Campbell.
All right, and ma'am, you are the mother of Charles Ray Holmes III?
Yes, sir.
It's just been presented to the court through your attorney, ma'am, that you are supporting children to whom your rights as a parent have been terminated. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And
They're still my children regardless.
And how much money each month are you providing? How many children are you supporting outside of Charles Ray Holmes III?
3, and if they, whatever they ask for, they don't just give me a set amount, but if they ask, they need hygienes, I done cashed out them 140 at a time for hygienes, etc., things like that. Just even help them pay for like little things for school. And even Charles Holmes III, I make sure that whenever I visit, I always take clothes, something to eat, something to drink, not just for him, but for that other little child that's there too. That's not even my child. So I don't exclude anybody out. Charles is my child. I have other children. Just because they're not in the household with me, I'm going to do what I have to do to be their mother, regardless. They need somebody to talk to, anything, help with homework, I'm there. I don't know how many times I FaceTime, because I FaceTime more than probably I should a week, because I'm always on the FaceTime with them. But with Charles, he's a little bit younger, but every time I go, I take something.
All right.
Whether it's clothes, food, Pampers, wipes. I even asked Ms. Gertman, do he need wipes? Do he need diapers? Is he low? This or that.
All right. And ma'am, you have heard the caseworker testify today that you have tested positive during the course of this proceeding involving your child, Charles Ray Holmes III. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I did hear that. And like I know for a fact I haven't been doing anything. My numbers, yes, they were positive, but they were going down. So the only thing I could do is pray that, because the last test was 460. This last hair follicle should be 0, because I'm not doing anything. I understand if we don't show up on time, it's presumed to be positive. That I understand. I can't change CPS rules, but they've watched me do UAs before. And so it's my numbers is going down on my hair. It's just my hair follicle is why where the numbers are standing, like they're going down. But the only thing I could do is just keep doing what I'm doing, which is not doing anything and taking care of my kids. I want my baby at home with me. I made a big drastic change. I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect at all. I went through things in my life. So, the only thing I'm trying to do is
answer my question. Thank you, ma'am. When is the last time you did any illegal substance?
And I told them on the conference in February.
In February?
Yes, sir. I was going through something, and I'm not even gonna lie to you. That was in February. I went through, so I didn't know how to handle it. I hadn't grasped myself then yet. I hadn't brought myself back together.
All right. And ma'am, you've heard the caseworker say that there were several programs that you had been ordered by the court to participate in. Do you believe you have finished any of those programs?
The parenting program, I would have been finished because I put myself in that. The moment I came home from the hospital with Charles, I put myself in it. Family Base took me out of that. After I've done 2 months worth, they took me out and told me I didn't need to do that. That wasn't going to be required. So the whole time throughout this case, nobody's ever told me until Deborah Lee came and told me that I had to do parenting. So when I went back, I had to start all the way back over. By this time, I'm doing work. At the time, it was just so, I had to work. I was working 12 hours a day. Then the COVID came in. It was just so much to where then my car stopped working. So now I only have 3 sessions left. And I need to get that done so I can do it, but I'm still doing the homework.
All right. So you believe you're close to finishing the parenting class?
I do still in Sealy at the Pregnancy Help Center.
All right. And any other services you believe you have finished during the course of this case other than the parenting?
My individual counseling, I had one counselor that was just helping me with my finances and making sure that I was getting my stuff together like I was supposed to. I haven't heard back from her. I don't know maybe she's sick or something. I don't know. I reached out to her. She hasn't called me back, Miss Melanie. So I don't know what that stands. But Miss Chupik, my substance abuse counselor, I talk to her once a week. She's got me on 12 steps. I feel like that I'm going in a good direction. She even told me I'm going in a good direction. I'm on 12 steps. I'm on step 4. So, I feel like I should be done with that in a timely manner. She said she just waited on a negative hair follicle.
All right. I don't have any further questions of this witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Garvey?
Ms. Campbell,
Yes, sir.
you indicated that at one time you were having some problems with classes and stuff. Was that during the time that you were a health worker?
Yes, because I couldn't either. If I missed class, then I couldn't. If I went to class, then I couldn't go to work, and I have to go to work because I have to pay my bills. But that was when COVID first started, and then when COVID, like as it took through to 2020, things started shifting differently. Different rules got in place or whatever. But
Okay, so stop for a minute. Let me ask you this. So you were at a healthcare facility?
Yes, sir.
And during that time period, was there a time that you had to stay at the facility 24/7, I guess you would say?
Yes, and I stayed for 32 days. I lived there for 32 days.
And was it the policy at the time at that facility that once you were there, you could not leave?
Oh yeah, when we did the lock-in, we couldn't leave. We could not leave. If whoever was there had to stay there. If we left there, we couldn't come back. We didn't have a job, and it was only 6 of us that stayed.
Okay, let me ask you this: is it your intent to be in the best possible mother you can be for this child in the event you got him back?
Yes, it is. It's very so much is like
Have you learned from the parenting classes?
Yes, I get emotional about it because it's like, you know, all I want is my baby back home. That's all. Everything that I'm doing is for him. I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Nobody's here but me. Nobody here but me, but I only want it for him so I could see him come run through here playing and I could play with him. It made me feel good at visitation when he called me mama and played with me and we recorded and he looked at it's just so much and I miss him. I miss him a lot.
Let me ask you this. With respect to the services, all of the services, are you committed, as you sit here today, are you committed to completing these services?
Yes, sir, I am.
Whatever they ask of you service-wise.
Yes, and I know like maybe it started out my attitude was a little bit rocky and I apologize to everybody here. I apologize because nobody wants nothing but the best for Charles, which is what I want the best too, but I want my baby, so I apologize for my attitude, period.
Okay. And the counselor is helping you work on that also?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Pass the witness, Judge.
Mr. Longoria? Okay. If I can read your lips, I think you said no questions. So Ms. Gonzalez?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right. So Mr. Van Orden, anybody else?
No, Your Honor, I don't have any other witnesses at this time.
Okay. Mr. Garvey, do you have any witnesses?
I don't have any witnesses, Judge, but I believe in our usual practice, it's customary to hear something from CASA.
Yeah, we'll get there at the end. Mr. Longoria, did you
No,
want?
Judge.
Okay.
No witnesses.
Okay, and Ms. Gonzalez?
I don't have any witnesses, Your Honor. I just wanted to note that Ms. Wagner, the attorney that Litem has filed a report in this case. I believe she filed it yesterday.
Yes. Okay, so Ms. Howell, we could hear from CASA.
Sherry Whiteley is the advocate volunteer. Sherry, are you available?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want to give them a report, please?
And let me get the name again.
Sherry Whiteley.
Okay. You may proceed.
I observed a visit with the mom, Peaches, with the son at the CPS office. I thought it went very well. You know, the concern that CASA has is we don't see any negative drug tests. That's been the number one concern. Either it's a no-show and then therefore it's a positive, or whatever, however you put a spin on it. CASA has not seen or a report that gives us a negative drug report, and that's our number one concern.
All right.
Where he is now, I talked to Jackie, the caregiver, last night, Ms. Gertman, and again, they're doing great. She certainly wants to adopt Charles, but Trey, and he's very happy. He's doing great. I've been watching him for, I guess, about 10 months now. And, they're doing great. We just can't get that negative drug test is I think our number one issue that CASA has.
All right. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Whiteley?
I do not, Your Honor.
Mr. Garvey?
I do not, Your Honor.
Mr. Longoria? No. Shaking his head no. And Ms. Gonzalez?
I do not.
Okay. All right. Anybody have anything else? I think.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
I'm kind of the new kid on the block. I'm not really sure what the different protocols are, Your Honor, but I think that at this point, if, as I understand it, the case has not been extended based upon the request for a jury trial at this stage. I don't know if you accept oral motions to extend to give us some more time to get this set in front of a jury, or if that would be an appropriate request or not.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and make that, I'll put that on the docket sheet. But with all the Supreme Court rules are in place, I think we don't have anything other that we can do than extend and probably just set another permanency review, because no telling when we'll be able to have a jury come in.
Right. Well, that was my main concern. We might be able to get it within the Supreme Court parameters, but I don't know when the juries will be coming back and when that will be approved. And so I think we're, from a time standpoint, would be in a better position to, and I will ask the court to extend the court's jurisdiction for 6 additional months past the dismissal date based upon the circumstances of the jury request at this point in time.
Okay.
I have no objection, Your Honor.
I'll grant that. And so when should we set another permanency review? How many months out?
I would say, Judge, probably 3.
I would agree. 3 months would be appropriate, Judge. I don't think we can get a jury before then.
So that date would be April 20th. And I mean, I know we'll not be able to have a jury by April 20th. So.
All right. April 20th is all right with us, Your Honor.
You're talking about having a permanency hearing that day, right?
Yes. We'll just set it then for permanency review on April 20th at 1:30.
And do we need to set a final hearing, even though we're not really sure when that will be based upon the rules or not?
I mean, I guess we can set one. So I guess we have to do that, in July? Is that?
Well, our dismissal will be in September, so either July or August.
Well, I'll tell you, why don't we set that when we come back in April? Maybe we'll have a little bit better idea what's going to happen. All right, so Mr. Garvey, how much time have you had?
Judge, I have about 3 hours.
And Mr. Longoria?
2 hours.
And Ms. Gonzalez?
1 second, Your Honor, I'm checking her notes for that. This is Holmes 2019 L7444.
Yes.
5 hours, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, so then I will approve that placement order and just keep the child where he is. We'll extend the case and have another permanency review April 20th. And then at that time, hopefully we'll be able to set a jury trial date.
Thank you.
Judge,
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, Ms.
are you
Barton.
going to want us to, also besides submitting the permanency hearing order, do you also want us to submit the order extending and put in the next date and the new dismissal date?
Yes, it'd probably be best if there's something in the file. So
Okay,
if you
we'll
would-
get that too.
If you would, please. All right, so anything else? If not, then at least Charles Holmes and Peaches Campbell, you are excused. And was there anybody else who was here just for this case? I know Miss Whiteley, were you here just for this case or you here for the others?
She was just for that case. It looks like she disconnected.
Okay, she's gone, okay. All right, so can we do the Shamiri Wade? Is that one?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Judge, can you send me and Miss Holmes to a breakout room?
Let's see if she's still here.
Yeah, she's still on there. She's just muted.
Okay. Or I'm not. Now, which, yeah, did you want, who did you want, Mr. Garvey?
Rhonda Holmes.
Okay. I see her.
Judge, do I need to go to this breakout room? Popped up to join.
Okay, and whoops, okay. No, I don't think so.
I got you also, Judge.
And so did I, Judge.
You got what now?
We're all asked to join the breakout room.
Okay. Now, the only two are Rhonda Holmes and Calvin Garvey. Okay. All right, so everybody here we need on Shamiri Wade. Okay, well, he's muted, so he can. This is cause number 2018L7182 in the interest of Shamari Wade. We have everyone else who's here.
Your Honor, I'm Charles Van Orden. I'm here as the regional attorney for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services.
Annie Scott, attorney at Lytton for the Child.
And I know, Jan Allen still pops up in this case, but I believe her client is deceased. So she's not going to need to be here. All right.
Deborah Lee, CPS caseworker.
Louis, CASA supervisor.
All right. So Mr. Van Orden, going to call any witnesses?
I intend to call the caseworker, Your Honor.
And Ms. Scott?
No witnesses.
All right, so Ms. Lee, let me see if I can see you. Get you to raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And one thing before I turn it over to Mr. Van Orden, I saw in the report that Shamiri got recognized as something like Outstanding Student of the Week or something like that. Is that right?
Yes, I received notification of that. That's
Okay.
been in the last couple weeks.
Now, do you know, I guess, what it took to get that award or what you had to do? I was pleased but surprised to see that.
I really don't know all of the details in that particular award. I know she has been trying very hard in her schoolwork. She's going to school online. The placement that she's in now is very interactive with helping her perform her schoolwork. I think that's a big part of it. They're giving her a lot of encouragement.
Okay. All right. So Mr. Van Orden, you may proceed.
All right. Would you state your name for the court, please?
Deborah Lee.
And you are currently the caseworker with Texas Department of Family and Protective Services that is assigned to the child, Ms. Wade, Shamiri
Yes,
Wade.
sir.
And you have prepared a permanency report to the court setting out her progress since the last hearing. Is that correct?
Yes.
And apparently one of the areas where she has made some progress is in her schoolwork. You said she's doing better.
Yes.
How long has she been in her current placement?
Right at 60 days.
Okay. And how is she adjusting to that? Does she feel it's a good place for her to be? Is she upset she's there?
She seems to be adjusting well.
Okay. And based upon her doing well in school, do you think that she is adjusting well from what you have seen of her progress in this current placement?
I'm going to answer this with a little bit of apprehensive. She's adjusting well. There was a recent death in her family, which caused her to have some inappropriate behaviors, which got her involved with law enforcement.
And in the current placement you're talking about?
Yes, sir. That's been in the last 30 days.
Okay. Were there any charges brought, or is that resolved?
My understanding is this is fairly new information that the DA is going to accept the charges. She's going to be charged with assault causing bodily injury because there was visual injury on the other peer. And destruction of private property.
And I noticed from the report that she has been in a number of placements over the last year and a half. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Will this have the possibility of disrupting her current placement?
Well, that's always a possibility, but at this particular time, the placement is willing to try to work with her through this because we feel it was partly caused by the death in her family. This child's had a lot of trauma.
Do you feel that the current placement is the least restrictive and in her best interest at this time?
Yes, sir.
And are you requesting that the court approve this placement as being in the child's best interest at this time?
Yes, sir.
And what are the department's plans, long-term plans for this child?
Well, long-term plans are give her the skills she needs to independent living.
Has she been in acquiring any of those so far? She's in, I believe, the 9th grade. Is that correct?
Yes. She's currently attending PAL classes and is very involved with that, which is very hopeful. She's trying to take a little bit more responsibility for her own actions and her own destiny and what she wants out of life. She's really learning how to advocate for herself, which that's really new for her.
All right. And you said there was a recent death in her family. Is she in contact with family members at this time?
She has contact with her paternal grandmother. And it was her paternal great-grandfather that recently deceased.
Okay. And is that phone contact she has with this relative?
She has phone contact. She can also have face-to-face contact. Currently, we're trying to coordinate and facilitate maybe an off-campus visit with her grandmother.
All right. All right. Is there anything else you feel it's appropriate to tell the court about her current situation?
No, sir.
All right. I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Scott?
Yes, Ms. Lee, given the death and the emotional impact that it has had on Shamara, has she been signed up for some additional grief counseling? I know she had done it before with the prior death. Is she re-enrolled for new classes or counseling?
She was never completed her grief counseling. That is an ongoing counseling with her.
Okay, and how frequently does she have those sessions?
She has counseling like 5 days a week. I, at this point, off the top of my head, don't know which counseling occurs on which day, but I am in contact with her. She has one counselor named Dr. Davis that I have weekly contact with.
Okay, but we don't know if Dr. Davis is her grief counselor. Do you know how many sessions or how much time is dedicated just for dealing with that? situation?
I would be happy to review the records, but off the top of my head, I do not recall.
And how long has she been in her PAL classes?
She's been in her PAL classes, I believe, 2 weeks. They are online.
And do you know how frequently those classes are?
They're on weekends, and they're like 2 hours.
Okay.
They're not a daily type class.
And in regard to the permanency goal of relative, is it still relative placement?
Our permanency goal is independent living.
Okay, is there an adjoining relative placement? I know we had talked about that previously. Is that no longer a goal of the department?
Our goal would be related conservatorship.
Okay, and that would be with her grandmother?
We are looking into that, yes, ma'am. We have a few barriers, but we're working on it.
Is one of those barriers trying to provide the paternal grandmother with the counseling as well as any other tools or resources that she might need in order to be able to take care of Shamira?
That is one of the barriers, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and has that been started or anything been initiated on that front?
This is kind of protected information, but Ms. Price has not been feeling well. So we have not really been able to do a whole lot on this case. My understanding is now she's feeling a little better. The last time I talked to her, she could barely breathe and could barely talk. But we are working to address any barriers that we have.
I'll pass the witness at this time.
Any other questions for Ms. Lee?
I just had one, Your Honor. And again, with the understanding that I'm kind of coming in on the tail end of this case, Ms. Lee, do you think it would be helpful for the attorney ad litem and guardian ad litem getting notes from this ongoing grief counseling?
Yes, they can do that. I mean, the grief counselor would be more than willing to provide all legal parties to the case any therapy notes that are available.
Okay, and would they ask you for that, or would they ask the grief counselor directly?
They can go directly to the facility and ask for any records they want.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And they have, I know that CASA has done that in the past.
All right, thank you. That's all I had, Your Honor.
All right, anything else for Ms. Lee?
Just one follow-up. Ms. Lee, in regard to going directly to the facility, are you referring to the placement? I could seek the records from the placement that she's currently in?
Yes, ma'am.
No other questions.
Okay, nothing else from Ms. Lee. We can hear from CASA.
Honor, CASA believes that Shamira is in a great placement currently, and as the caseworker for the department stated, we are looking into other plans along the way, possibly with grandma, and so we are just working kind of all together to figure out the best way to build those relationships for her, but she is doing great now.
Anybody have any questions for CASA?
No questions.
No questions.
All right, well then I guess Ms. Partey, if you'd get me an order on this one, and we're just going to maintain the status quo for Ms. Wade. And Ms. Scott, how much time have you had since the last hearing?
Judge, I submitted my invoice to you yesterday, but I believe my time goes all the way back until about last summer, and so it was 14 hours.
Have you been paid previously?
Not since summer, no.
All right, so anything else with Ms. Wade?
No, Your Honor.
All right, so thank you. So then I guess Ms. Scott and Ms. Bowie, are you here on the other case?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Okay.
Judge?
Yes.
So Mr. Van Orden has the orders And I guess, how are you going to do this, Mr. Van Order? Are you going to file them with are you going to circulate them for everybody to sign and then e-file it for the judge's signature? We do it completely different in all three of my counties, but this is only our second really big docket, I guess you could say, for Zoom in Austin County.
Well, I believe the preferred way would probably be to circulate the order for the other attorneys to sign off on, and then once they've signed them to return them to the court.
That's fine. If that's the easiest way, that's great. Okay. And then we can hold on for a second till the next case. Hold on. Okay, I'm just getting the file on that Hill Holmes case. So let's see, who all was here on this? Mr. Van Orden?
Yes, I'm representing the department on this case, Your Honor.
And see, Ms. Gonzalez, you're going to represent the children?
I am, and Ms. Wagner had kind of a preliminary issue. I'm not sure if there might be an agreement on this adversary, so I can hold until we find that out.
Okay.
No.
And see, Mr. Longoria is here, and I think Mr. Garvey may need to see how I get him back in here. And Mr. Longoria, who did you represent in?
I have the father, Judge Walter Hill.
Someone's got to tell me how I can get a message to Mr. Garvey. See if he's ready to come back. Does anybody tell me which button to click to see if?
I don't, Judge, I haven't.
Maybe chat?
Yes. You can do a chat.
Oh, right here, Judge.
See chat.
And then type something right there at the bottom, right?
Here.
Right. And maybe click this Garvey's name.
I don't see him on the chat list. If he's in a out room, maybe he's off the chat.
I tried sending a chat to him, but let's see if he responds.
Judge, go where it says everyone, see if his name's on there.
I can call him if you'd like.
Yeah, I don't see him on the list anymore.
Maybe he got him.
Yep, if you could give him a call and to see if he can jump back in.
I texted him, Judge.
Okay, great.
I was just telling you the judge was ready back for you. We didn't see you on the chat. Okay, let me tell him. Judge, he's on the phone here. He said, you got to bring us back. There's no way for him to get back into the court.
How do I bring him back?
In the bottom right-hand corner, a blue tab should pull up that says leave
That's fine. We're
breakout
working
room.
on it. Hold on.
Bottom right-hand corner, there should be a blue button that says leave breakout room.
For him to do.
I don't see.
Are you talking to Mr. Garvey or me?
I was talking to Mr. Longoria that so he could tell.
Oh, well, hung up.
Okay, let me try to call him.
Okay, while they're trying to do that, Ms. Bartay, I have a question. Do you know if the parents in this case got served or got notice?
Not to my knowledge, Judge.
Right.
One parent is in San Antonio. The other parent is in
Corpus Christi?
Corpus Christi. I'm not sure if Mr. Evans, the caseworker, were able to get a hold of them.
I sent out notifications to both parents.
Okay.
I mean, Judge, we mailed stuff, but I know it didn't get to them in time.
Yeah. And this one, I mean, sometimes when people show up for court, we got the file, there's, the citations are in here. This one it's not. So they're floating around somewhere out there.
Judge, for your information and for Mr. Evans, I did speak about 2 hours ago to Mr. Walter, Mr. Hill. We did have a good conversation, and that was really about it. I asked him if he had received notice. He was a little surprised when I told him we had a hearing today, but I told him I would be here for him, that he was at work. He works for a company that makes food products for HEB. So just kind of left it at that for right now.
Okay. Okay, so I see Mr. Garvey's back. And so, Mr. Garvey, have you been able to contact Ms. Holmes, Rhonda Holmes?
Yeah, she's here.
Oh, okay.
She's back too.
Okay, I see her. Good. Okay.
Yeah, that's who I was in the breakout room with.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, let's call this case is 2021L 7804 in the interest of Maddox Hill and Brantley Holmes. Let me have everyone announce who's here. Mr. Van Orden.
Yes, Your Honor, I'm Charles Van Orden. I'm here as the regional attorney representing the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services in this case.
Okay, Ms. Gonzalez.
Stephanie M. Gonzalez. I am here for Sarah Wagner, who's the appointed attorney ad litem for the children in this case.
Okay, and Mr. Longoria.
Attorney Stephen Longoria. I'm appointed for Mr. Walter Hill, father of the children.
And Mr. Garvey.
Attorney Calvin Garvey. I'm here representing Rhonda Holmes, the mother of the children, and she's also present.
And caseworker. Mr.
Myron Evans.
Evans.
And Your Honor, I believe previously I had seen someone who I believe is a placement for one of the children was on your, was one of the people on the screen.
Who was that?
She's still on.
Miss Nagurski.
Nagurski, yes. Ms.
She's
Nagurski is a placement for one of the children.
Okay. Anybody else that we need for this case? If not, then Mr. Van Orden, who will you call to testify?
Your Honor, I will call, and again, at this point, I will call Mr. Evans. Mr. Evans, are you the
Let me
caseworker
let me just
from?
find out if there's anybody else. Ms. Gonzalez, you gonna have any witnesses?
I am not, Your Honor.
And Mr. Longoria,
No, Judge.
Mr. Garvey?
Possibly Miss Holmes.
Okay, so then if I can get Ms. Holmes and Mr. Evans to raise your right hands. You and each of you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, Your Honor.
I do.
Okay, Mr. Van Orden, you may proceed.
All right, thank you. Would you state your name for the court, please?
Myron Evans.
And Mr. Evans, you are a caseworker, I believe, for the Department of Family and Protective Services out of Nueces County, is that correct?
Yes.
And your department, and I believe that the affidavit in this case was signed and executed by Christina Garza. Is that your supervisor?
Yes, sir.
Did you do the original affidavit in the case that was presented in Nueces County involving
Yes, sir, I did.
children? And does this basically track the information in your affidavit, the affidavit that was filed in this case?
Yes, sir.
And it's a fairly extensive affidavit. Would you agree with that, Mr. Evans?
Yes, I do.
It is not your typical 2 or 3 pages. It's closer to 10 pages of information regarding the children and the department's contact with them.
Yes, sir.
And in that regard, sir, let me just go over one area very briefly with you. This case was initially filed in Nueces County. It was set, I believe, for an initial show cause adversary hearing, and the court reset it for a week based on it had some issues with the jurisdiction of the court there. And when it came back, I believe this week for the adversary hearing, the court, is my understanding, dismissed the case. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And Mr. Evans, are you aware that the case is still open in impact?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You understand it makes it difficult to get all the information into that computer deal. If we can't close out the Nueces County case, makes it very difficult for the caseworkers and the legal administrators to get information. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And one other question that's a little bit perhaps distant from this case, but I need to get this information out. In the affidavit, you talked about a 3rd child of the mother. I believe his name is Travis Hill.
Yes, sir.
The department is not seeking custody of that 3rd child at this time. Is that correct?
No, sir. No, we're not.
And does the placement of the child, do they have legal custody, or is it just an agreed placement?
As agreed placement, as the child was already residing with the grandmother.
All right. And if I may, the court has had the opportunity to review the affidavit, sir, but if I could go over just a few points. The child, Brantley, has a very serious illness. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And that illness has created some substantial problems for him in the long run and the short run. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
How many times is the child on dialysis per week at this time?
Typically 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay. And where is the child Brantley placed at this time?
He's currently with a long-term family friend of Ms. Holmes.
Okay. And is that Miss Nagurski?
Yes, sir.
And where is the child Maddox placed at this time?
Maddox is in Spring, Texas. He's in a foster placement.
All right. And specifically, there were some behavioral problems that made it difficult for Ms. Nagurski to provide care for Brantley based upon Maddox's behaviors. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what kind of behavioral problems is Maddox having?
Maddox was expressing behaviors of bedwetting, also fire settings, and then animal cruelty.
Was the mother contesting, in your opinion, was she contesting the department's request to take conservatorship while the case was in Nueces County? or was she agreeing to the placement through the department? If you know.
Can you repeat that question one more time?
Yeah, what was the mother contesting the department's seeking custody while it was in Nueces County? Or was she basically agreeing that she was having a difficult time providing care for the children?
When we did a family team meeting, yes, she did. She didn't know what to do with the children.
Okay. And based upon your affidavits, or again, I don't want to belabor the affidavit too much, but several times she has just said it's difficult for her to cope caring for the children. Would that be a fair statement?
From my inference, yes.
Do you feel at this time that the children would be at a continued risk, particularly Brantley, based upon missed doctor's appointments, should he be returned to the care of his mother?
Absolutely.
And do you believe that there would be a continued risk and danger to Maddox if the court were to place or reunify that child back with the mother at this time?
Yes, sir.
Do you feel it's in their best interest to be placed in the temporary conservatorship of the department and for the department to work with the parents to attempt to reunify them at some future point?
Yes, sir.
Have reasonable efforts been made at this point to prevent that removal?
Yes, sir.
And have those reasonable efforts been successful?
Yes, sir.
They've been successful to keep the child from being removed?
I mean, well, I'm sorry, no, it hasn't. due to Maddox having been removed from Miss Nagersi's home, no, it hasn't been successful.
Okay.
We tried our best to keep the children together.
Does the mother sincerely want to be able to have the skills in your mind to be able to provide a safe and stable home for the children? Does she want to work with the department to try to get the kids back home?
When we spoke 2 weeks ago, yes, she did express that she wants her children back home and that she does want to work towards providing for her children.
And again, at this time, sir, do you think it would be in their continuing danger to their physical health and safety to be returned to the mother, though?
Yes.
All right. Gunnar, I'll pass the witness at this time.
Ms. Gonzalez, any questions?
I do. Mr. Evans, you testified that Maddox is currently in a foster placement.
Yes, ma'am.
Was he recently in a treatment center?
I'm sorry?
Was he recently in a treatment center?
Yes, he was at West Oaks Acute Hospital due to his behaviors.
And you also testified that Maddox has one other sibling, is that correct?
Yes.
And is placement with that sibling possible at all?
For supervision purposes, no. Due to that person, that grandmother, she works overnight, and so there'll be no one watching that child.
And has the department looked into any other possible family placements for Maddox?
We have a paternal, I'm sorry, go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
What was the question? I want to make sure I got all of it.
Have you looked into any other possible family members for placement as to Maddox?
Yes, we have a paternal aunt that was brought upon by the father. And so we have looked into her, and I've also passed it to our conservatorship department for a home study.
As to the child Brantley, would it be beneficial to Brantley as far as any possible medical benefits that could be available to Brantley if the department is named temporary managing conservator?
Can you repeat that question one more time, please?
As to the child Brantley, considering his medical condition, would there be any other benefits, like medical benefits that would be available to Brantley if the department is named as managing conservator?
Right now, he's receiving all his benefits through Texas Children's Hospital. We will, of course, have Star of Health and things like that to continue on in therapy by us, yes.
And do you believe that the mother in this case could properly care for Brantley considering his medical condition?
No, I don't.
Do you believe that the mother's behavior in the past contributed to Brantley's medical condition?
Objection,
Yes,
Your
I
Honor.
do.
That's a opinion of an expert, a doctor. She's asking for an assessment based on a medical opinion, and he's not qualified to make that opinion.
Objection sustained.
In records of visits, doctor's appointments, did you notice a lapse of treatment for Brantley?
Well, I spoke to one of the doctors at the hospital that takes the children who notified me that had he been seeking services prior to when he was born, well, when he was born, and those services that continued, he possibly wouldn't have been on dialysis now. He possibly would have had treatment already.
What types of services was he needing at birth?
And so he was supposed to be seeing some type of, I'm sorry, I don't get the correct term, some neurologist, I believe, and some other GO doctor. He's supposed to be seeing two specialists or so that he could move forward. And so when I spoke to that doctor at the hospital the day that he was there, he had stated to me that Brantley was having issues since he was born regarding his liver. So had he been getting those treatments then, or been seeing specialists normally, I believe I want to say either it was 3 months or 6 months. And had he been seeing those, then he possibly wouldn't have been on dialysis now. I hope that answers this question.
Yes. And as to Maddox, considering the dangerous situations that he has been in, do you believe that returning him to his mother could be detrimental to his health as well?
I do, especially if he's not supervised carefully.
I pass the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Longoria, any questions?
Right, Mr. Evans. Mr. Evans, I saw in your report that you did reach out to Mr. Hill, but you did not talk to him. Is that correct?
I've spoken with him.
Okay. And when did he get parole from prison?
I'm sorry?
You remember when he got
I'm not
paroled
sure
from prison?
exactly when he got paroled.
And did he tell you?
I just know that we go ahead.
Did he tell you that he was undergoing regular UAs with his parole officer?
No.
And he is taking anger management classes through the parole office?
No.
And is there anything, I'll strike that. Is he still able to continue to do, is he able to do services through your office?
Yes, he is.
Okay. So his prior criminal history does not prevent him, as we stand here today, from doing any of y'all's programs. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. As far as, I thought I saw in the report, the second child, so there's Maddox and then there's Brantley, and I thought I saw where we were not 100% sure if Brantley was his child. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And did you talk to him at all about that?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And did he express one way or another as far as Brantley being his? Did he say anything?
He says that the child is his, but paternity was not signed.
Okay. All right. I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes, sir. You indicated that back when she had the child, that she was supposed to, that there was going to be, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. You indicated that the doctor expressed to you that there were services the child should have been getting from the time the child was born?
Correct.
Okay. But you're not privy to any discussions that Ms. Holmes had with those doctors, are you?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, in other words, you haven't talked to the doctors from back then.
I've talked to one of the recent doctors who she was making appointments with, but they haven't had an appointment in their system with Brantley at the hospital. And I know when I spoke with Ms. Holmes herself, she expressed to me even about the Medicaid, sometimes it'd be on, sometimes it'd be off. And that's some reasons why she couldn't get the child to the doctor.
Okay, so basically she told you she had a lack of resources.
Yes.
And that if the assistance she was supposed to be getting was working, she could have done certain things, but if it wasn't, then she had a problem.
Correct.
You believe in the programs and services that y'all use, don't you?
Yes.
So if she commits to doing these programs, you believe that that would help her, correct?
I believe that coupled with other requirements to his health would help. Her getting trainings to deal with his dialysis, her being more engaged with the child, her being more engaged with the doctors, those things will help with that, coupled with that.
So in essence, what you're saying is more knowledge would empower her to be in a position, if she was going to be in a position, to help the child.
Correct.
Or either child.
And engaging. And engaging and wanting to parent the children.
Okay. Which she's expressed to you that she's willing to do, correct?
Correct.
I pass the witness.
Any other questions of Mr. Evans?
I have a few more, Your Honor.
All right, you may proceed.
In your affidavit, Mr. Evans, you mentioned that on at least one occasion back in September, you'd had a discussion with the mother about her visitation with Brantley while he was in the hospital. Is that correct?
Correct.
And how long was he in the hospital?
I don't recall how long he was there. I'm sorry.
I mean, more than a week?
Definitely more than a week.
More than a month?
I don't know if it was more than a month, though.
While he was there, did you discuss with the mother how often she had seen him in the hospital?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
Due to the COVID and because of some of the issues with it being an awkward situation, that's the reason why she didn't visit with her children as much.
Well, did she visit with Brantley at all while he was in the hospital?
No.
And did she discuss with doctors over the phone about his treatment or his condition while he was in the hospital?
I'm unsure at this moment.
And again, I don't want to get into experts' qualifications here, but basically, is it your understanding that a person needs dialysis because their kidneys have failed?
Correct.
And that is why he's receiving dialysis?
Yes, for renal failure.
And without that, his life would be at risk. Is that correct?
Correct.
And as to the father, the department's concern about the father is one of his convictions is for family violence. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And who was that against?
He stated to me that that was with an ex-paramour.
Okay. And do you feel that he might at some point show that he could be an appropriate parent for these children if he were given that chance and completed programs and services to show the department he could provide a safe and stable home?
I'm unsure of that, only seeing that he has not really been involved in their life, and we're unsure if he's the parent of Brantley.
All right. When you say he has not been involved, when is the last time he has seen the children?
That I don't have the answer for right now.
Oh. Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Evans?
I have a couple follow-up questions for Mr. Evans, Judge. Mr. Evans, when will you be following up with Mr. Hill?
As far as,
As any other questions or I'm believing that y'all are going to provide him with a service plan. Is that correct?
yes, the department will.
Okay, and so I guess that's my question. When will you be following up with him to give him this plan or talk to him so I can follow up with him?
Well, I will be following up with our conservatorship department, who will be following up with his plan of service. And I'll be following up with him with his visitation with the children.
And I thought I heard that there was a third child that is not involved in this case. Was that correct?
Correct.
And do we believe that child to be Mr. Hills?
No, that's a different father.
Okay, we're sure of that.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right, anybody else have a question for Mr. Evans?
Yeah, quickly, Judge. So when you say that she did not visit at the hospital, you are aware that Ms. Nagurski brought the child to the hospital, or at least
Yes.
arranged for the child to go to the hospital?
Yes.
So the child was already in foster care.
No, the child wasn't in foster care at that time. They were in a volunteer parental child safety placement. Both the children were together with Ms. Nagurski.
The child was in placement.
Correct.
Okay. So once the child was in placement, their paperwork would have showed Ms. Nagurski, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And at that time, only one person could go to the hospital, correct? Because of COVID.
Correct, but due to circumstances, I've made arrangements with the social worker who would allow it to happen. It would have still been supervised.
Okay, but at that time, she had moved quite a distance away, correct?
Correct.
Ms. Holmes?
Correct.
Okay, pass the witness.
Mr. Van Orden, do you have any other witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor, I would like to call the mother. I don't believe she has been sworn, but I would like to call her as a witness.
I think I did swear her in.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So you may proceed.
Thank you. Ma'am, would you state your name for the court, please?
Rhonda Holmes.
And ma'am, you are the mother of Maddox and Brantley Holmes, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Let me get to one issue real quickly here. Brantley Holmes, who is the father of Brantley Holmes?
Walter Hill. They have the same father.
Okay. And is there some reason he might be, that you know of, questioning whether he's the father?
No, he's never stated any problems. He wasn't. I was living in Brazoria County when Brantley was born, so he wasn't able to sign the birth certificate.
All right. Ma'am, do you understand why the department is involved with your children?
Yes, sir.
And at this point, ma'am, where are you living?
In Corpus Christi, Nueces County.
And are you going through services there at this time?
I haven't been given any services to go through or classes to take or anything.
Okay.
I was told that this is what this was for, was to set me up with someone.
All right. And ma'am, are you working at this time?
No, I'm unemployed.
And if the court should give the department temporary managing conservatorship, you understand it would require the department to set up services and programs for you to show you could be a parent that could be providing the care for the children. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir. That's from my understanding. Yes.
And would you be able to participate in those programs where you're living now?
Yes, sir.
And ma'am, the original placement was with Ms. Nagurski, who I believe is part of the court proceeding today. Do you feel that she's providing good care for Brantley at this time?
Yes, sir.
Is she a family member, a friend? What is your relationship?
She's just a longtime friend. I've known her forever.
Okay. And do you believe that she has Brantley's best interests at heart?
Yes, sir.
And are you able to visit with Brantley through that placement with Ms. Nagurski?
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand you.
Are you able to have contact with Brantley through his placement with Ms. Nagurski?
Through texting and FaceTime, yes.
Okay, and do you do that on a regular basis?
I try to. Sometimes I'm sure she gets busy or something, or I get busy, and we like miss each other's text messages. And then with Maddox, them being in different places, we've been scheduling FaceTimes that I've been attending.
And then I don't mean to bring up anything painful, but what is your understanding of Brantley? Is he going to be able to have a normal life with his current kidney problems? What is your
Well, from my understanding, he'll have to be on dialysis for the rest of his life, or until he gets a kidney transplant.
So he could possibly be getting a kidney transplant, and he might retain some normalcy at that point.
From my understanding, yes.
All right, Your Honor, I'll pass the witness at this point.
Ms. Gonzalez, do you have any questions for Ms. Holmes?
Ms. Holmes, as to Brantley, do you agree that he should remain with Ms. Nagurski, at least temporarily?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you, I guess, agree that the department should be named as temporary managing conservator today?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand you. It cut out.
Do you agree that the department should be given then temporary custody of Brantley for today?
I guess.
Are you in agreement that Maddox should remain temporarily in CPS custody?
I think Maddox would benefit from coming home, but that's not really my choice to make, I don't think.
And do you say that's not your choice to make because you currently don't have a home for Maddox to go to?
I have an apartment. I have a place to stay, but I've expressed that I feel like he should come home because I understand his mental illness, but I do know it's amplified from him being separated from me. But with all this going on, I can't just go get Maddox. That would look bad on me.
Did Maddox ever receive therapy prior, well, I guess at any time?
No, ma'am. When I took them to the pediatrician, both of them in August, I had expressed my concerns about his mental health, but the pediatrician kind of just brushed it off, and I wasn't sure where else to go or who else to turn to about it.
I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Longoria, any questions for Ms. Holmes?
Ms. Holmes, I did speak to Mr. Hill today, and I didn't mean to mislead anybody as far as him saying that he was the father of one or both of the children. He did say he was the father of both. Since he's not online, I guess I just wasn't gonna we have to go through some legal hoops to make sure that that gets done. So I just didn't want to mislead you on that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing further for the witness, Judge.
Mr. Garvey?
Ms. Holmes, while we're on that subject, has Mr. Hill been involved with the child?
We'll FaceTime or we'll talk on the phone usually on a regular basis when I did have the children with me. But as far as him physically being there, no, because he was in prison for the last 2 or 3 years, I believe. And then with him living in San Antonio, it was kind of difficult for me to go bring the kids to go see him.
Just to refresh everybody, how old are the children?
Maddox is 7 and Brantley is 5.
Okay, so a good chunk of their lives, he was basically physically gone.
Yes, sir.
Now, in the affidavit, it reflects that you tried to give them multiple family members that the children could be placed with.
Well, I know we were trying a bunch of his sisters to place them. Yes.
And y'all were not successful except for Miss Nagurski.
Yes, and then we gave Myron Brandy as Walter's other sister, and she's done the CPS thing before, fostering. So, and he said he gave it to the conservatorship department, but we haven't heard anything back from that.
Okay, but that was recently.
Yeah, I want to say a couple weeks ago. Or
Okay.
what was it? Was it the beginning of the month, I believe, is when they were telling me that Maddox had to be placed somewhere else.
Okay. Well, let's cut to the chase here.
Oop, Mr. Garvey, Mr. Garvey, you can start over again. You muted out there for a minute.
Oh, okay. At the time that you started this process with the child, took the child home, were you aware of how severe their conditions were?
With Brantley?
Yeah.
Yes, I was. They told me that he had renal failure the day he was born, that it wasn't a matter of if he's gonna have to be on dialysis, but when.
Okay. Now, can you explain to the court about the Medicaid stuff?
Well, sometimes they would take my Medicaid away from me because according to them, I would make too much money. Like say if I was working overtime or something, and Medicaid would pull that information and then they would cut my Medicaid.
And Ms. Holmes, if you can slow down just a little bit, the court reporter is having a hard time keeping up.
I apologize. What I was explaining was sometimes, according to Medicaid, I would be making too much money if I was working overtime, and they would cut Medicaid and I wouldn't get it anymore until I slowed down and stopped working so much, and then they'd give it back.
Okay. Did this affect your ability health-wise with the children, with their medical issues?
Yes, because sometimes if I didn't have Medicaid, I couldn't afford to take them to the doctor. Or I remember one time, apparently they cut Medicaid without me knowing, and I had to spend $200 for Maddox's shots.
Okay. So if you've heard the gentleman from CPS talk about services,
yes.
Are you here prepared to commit to do whatever services they need you to do?
Yes, sir. I've expressed that. Yes.
Okay. And so whatever is necessary, you're going to do that.
Yes.
And we talked a little bit about your informing yourself, your arming yourself with more information.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you prepared to do that so you
Yes,
can have
sir.
more information on the children
Yes. Anything
and
I
the
need to do.
conditions that they're suffering from?
Yes. I know Maddox's, his condition is kind of, they don't really have a name for it. They're not 100% sure what his mental condition is. There's no name for it from my understanding.
Okay. Well, one of the things you've heard Mr. Evans talk about, you're engaging more with the children, with the health providers, all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Are you committed to doing those things?
Yes.
Okay. And you're aware that this is going to be, this is not a quick road. This is going to be a lengthy road. If we're successful in obtaining the children back, it's still going to be a long road to get there.
Yes, I understand.
Okay. And you understand that when they say CPS is getting temporary custody, that means that they're going to be able to provide all the services necessary right now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that your ability to cooperate with them is going to go a long way toward deciding this thing one way or the other.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Pass the witness.
All right, any other questions for Ms. Hall?
I have nothing else, Your Honor.
No, Judge.
Just a quick question, Your Honor, for Ms. Holmes. Where does paternal aunt Brandy reside?
In Houston.
What is her full name?
Brandy Thomas. It's Brandy with an I.
Thank you, Ms. Holmes. Nothing further.
All right, and we hear from CASA.
CASA hasn't visited with the children yet, but I did talk to Maddox's caregiver, who reports that he is doing really well. He's sleeping well, he's eating well, going to school, and without any behavior issues. And I have not spoke with Brantley's caregiver placement yet.
All right, anyone have any questions for Ms. Howell?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, and anything else from anybody?
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Nothing
All right.
further, Judge.
Okay, well, I'm gonna, keep the children in the temporary conservatorship of the department. And so when, yes, Ms. Barte, when do we need to set this for the next review?
I believe we have set the February, the status hearing, February 23rd. Will that work?
Yes.
'Cause we're-
February 23rd at 1:30 for
Yes.
status. And Ms. Gonzalez, do you know how much time has been put in?
Yes, Your Honor, 1.5 hours.
And Mr. Longoria
2 hours, Judge.
and Mr. Garvey?
Just this hearing, Your Honor.
All right, then I guess Mr. Van Orden, if you do the same thing as those other hearings, circulate the order and then get it to me.
Yes,
Judge,
sir.
I have two questions.
Okay.
Number one, my appointment said temporary appointment. So am I on the case or was I just on the case for today?
You'll be on the case.
Okay. And number two, can we get some assessment from Mr. Evans, how soon they can get her set up for services?
See if Mr. Evans can comment on that.
I'll be sending another referral today for them to get that done.
Okay, that's
hear me?
all I have, Judge.
Okay, sorry.
Wait, Ms. Barte?
Yes, Judge. So every county's kind of handling this differently. In Waller and Colorado County, they're having us do these temporary appointments. And then the judge just tells the attorneys at the hearing that they are now permanent appointment. However, one of the counties then asks us to submit the normal order appointing attorney ad litem. How do you want to hear it? How do you want to handle it here?
I mean, I'm fine with just telling the attorneys today that they're on the case.
Okay, perfect.
May I make a suggestion, Your Honor?
Sure.
Could we put into the order today that they are appointed as the attorneys for the parents?
That'd be fine. If you just want to write that in the order and then circulate it, that's fine.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? See Mr. Longoria giving the gig 'em sign, so.
No.
All right. All right, if that's it, then everybody is excused. Thank you.
It's nice meeting you.